What's up, guys? It's your boy, Barça Boy 103, and welcome back to another episode of the Blaugrana Podcast. This is episode 4, and of course, I am joined by my co host, Omar BYT. You want to say what's up to the people?
Hey, listen, man. Big up to every single one of you guys. Guys, apologies, guys. Obviously, you guys know, guys, we usually run this every Monday or every Friday. But hey, listen, it's been a busy time for me and Hafed, man. It's been so many stuff been going on. But hey, we couldn't go a whole week without giving you guys your daily dose of the Blaugrana podcast. We
Mm-hmm.
are here today, guys. So big up to every single one of you guys who are here, man. Big up to you, Hafed, as well.
Yeah. So, we haven't done a show since the Sevilla game. Of course, that was kind of a big blow for us. I just want you, it's already been about a week now, but
Mhm.
maybe just let the people know your thoughts on that game overall.
I mean, look, I wasn't happy. That's I would say that. I would tell you that. I was fuming, to be honest with you. I had a lot of things in my mind. I didn't like the performance. Obviously, I think that when we played against Sevilla, we were very exposed. Our whole tactics, I feel like the manager got it all wrong from like the start of the game, right? I feel like even from the lineup itself, right? Um, Sevilla had it their way against us, right? They completely exposed the way we play. The highline wasn't working at all, right? And the truth is, I'll be honest, I don't even think Sevilla were even that good, with all due respect to Sevilla, right? I think that if they really were really on it, they could have won by way more. I think Isaac Moreno, he missed a lot of golden opportunities. Sanchez, he got his goal. But really, another thing I would say that I really did not like about the game is our performance. Because I think that if we had taken our chances in the game, we would have even left that stadium with at least a point. Because we were given an opportunity to get a point. From the spot, we had a penalty which we missed. And that penalty could have been very crucial. That penalty could have been a game changer. We could have potentially left that stadium with a draw or even nick a win. We've seen this season us not play well, especially away from home, and still live with the victory. Right? Levante is a perfect example of that. You understand what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I did not like the performance. And I've been very critical of the tactics from the manager, and you know this, right? Now that doesn't mean I'm obviously flick out. I'm not flick out. But I feel like as a fan, you can be critical and you can see things because we watch the games, and because we watch the games, we're seeing not just the result, we're seeing the performance as well. When you look at the performance, you can say, "Oh yeah, we're winning," but dude, that thing right there, I'm seeing right there, that could become a problem in the future because every single time week I'm watching, I'm seeing the same way, and I'm seeing that is a weakness that is slowly growing in our squad. The issue with our highline is this: I don't have a problem with any managers playing highline.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that the highline works if you have the right defenders that can play the highline, i.e., fast defenders that can recover if the attacker ends up beating the highline, right? The issue is this, Hafid. We don't have any fast defenders. We don't. Let's be clear here. We don't have any
In
defenders that
terms
are
centrally,
known.
yeah.
Yes, we don't know any defenders that are known for being pacey, right? Kobashi is not that fast. Araujo is not that fast. Christensen has a little pace, but he's not even known for his speed either, right? Uh, if you guys Kounde, I'm sorry, Kounde is a right back, but Kounde is not that fast compared to like a Balde. Balde is probably the fastest player that we have in defense. Gerard Martin, I feel like he's also very fast, and I think also Hafed. This is why I believe that Flick might have been. That's why he was trying to play him as a centre back because I think that he believes that he's one of those players that can be good at recovery if our highline gets beaten. You understand what I mean? Like one of our those defenders he can rely upon, right? But like I mentioned, the highline works if you have the defenders for it. We don't have the defenders for it, and he puts the high line so high it's literally around the midfield. You understand what I mean, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what happens? So look at that game. Look at the third and fourth goal. It was literally copy and paste, right? One ball completely beats the high line. Defenders don't recover on time. There, we consider the third and the fourth goal of the game. It is not good enough, and this is the things I want the manager to change. I'm not asking for much. Just change. Just drop the line. Not saying drop it all the way deep to the defense, but don't make it so high that the recovery pace is going to take so long. Because in the El Clasico, I can promise you, if the Highland gets beaten, we are cooked. Because we're dealing with Mbappe. I mean, I know Mbappe, unfortunately, for Madrid, ended up getting an injury yesterday. We don't know how bad his injury is. I haven't heard anything yet. But honestly, that's probably the only semi good thing that could ever happen if we in the Clasico if we don't have to deal with Kylian. Because I can tell you this, he might have been cut offside about 11 times in the last Clasico we played them in the Bernabeu. But he learned from his lesson as the season went on. You saw it. So not a great performance, but I feel like this is not the end of the world. Last season we lost 4-2 to Osasuna. Many people were laughing at us. Many people thought, "Yep, we knew this was a false dawn," but we ended up recovering well, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of the same thing. I just think that a lot of people are using the timing of the game and all that as an excuse. I don't think that was the case. I just think that we just didn't turn up. I think that we were pretty responsive in the second half. We just weren't clinical. That's always what it comes down to us nowadays. Either we're not clinical, we're clinical, and that really dictates how we perform and how we play. And it is a bit disappointing that way. But new light, new day. We of course have games to look forward to. We have Girona, Olympiacos, and then El Clasico in the first week back after the international break.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of the international break, there have been yet another more movements by the Spanish national team. Of course, Dani Olmo returning with an injury. He went with discomfort. They trained, and he got injured. Now he's coming back. Apparently, Barcelona have just told the Spanish national team that Pedri has a bit of fatigue and overload. So we'll see what they do with Pedri.
Oh well,
But
do we have any hope, Happy,
well, it's
after what
funny.
we
It's
saw?
funny because when Madrid players, have their discomfort, they get sent home right away. But for Barcelona, it's a bit
Yeah,
different.
yeah, 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 listen, but hey, have it. We're just being conspiracy theorists. It's not like we don't watch the games. No, we don't see it ourselves. No, 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 no. It's just Barca fans being paranoid. Don't worry about it, bro. We're being paranoid, bro. Just chuck it up to that. It's ridiculous because you mentioned it. Yamal, Olmo, bro. Every time a Barca player goes to Spain, I am sweating. I'm not even kidding. I'm always watching the games, not to enjoy the game. I'm just trying to see my player get substituted. So we're like, oh, thank God Pedri is off. Thank God Pedri is off. Because you've seen what De La Fuente has said. This guy has made it adamantly clear. He does not care. If you're fit, you're gonna get played. This guy, Yamal called him. You know Yamal spoke to him, told him, yo, I have some discomfort. And this guy had the nerve to tell him, if you're good enough to play for Barcelona, you're good enough to play for Spain. You see what I'm saying? Because
Hmm.
they know his injuries, his problems, his absence. It's not their problem. They only have him for like a week. So if he leaves the international break and doesn't play for a whole month, not their problem. That's Barca's problem to deal with. And this is why I'm always going to stand by this, Hafid. It's about time Barcelona started protecting our players. You want to sit here and bench Real Madrid players when they're fatigued? Okay, cool. Then we will not release our players. I don't care if this starts a war in the national team. I'm not saying our players shouldn't play for the national team, but our players need to be protected. If you're not going to protect our players, then we're not giving you our players. How many times are we going to give you guys our players and they come back injured every single time? It's not a coincidence. It's always in Spain. Pedri's last big injury was for Spain, wasn't it? Let me remind you. Look at Gavi. Gavi is still not recovered from the ACL injury he suffered in Nations League against Georgia. To this day, the last big injury that Ansu Fati had was for Spain. Yamal's current injury issues started with Spain. So I'm not paranoid here. These guys always take our players, do whatever they want, and because they don't have to deal with the medical issues, they just send them back to us. We know with the Yamal situation, when we heard all the news, we heard it very clearly. Yamal was in discomfort before the game against Turkey. And they won 6-0. They didn't even bother to take this guy off at halftime. Why do you guys need to play him when you're 2-0, 3-0 up? Take him off. But it shows you they understood this is not our problem after this game. he's gone for the next 1 month.
Hmm.
So if he gets an injury and he's out for weeks, tough luck.
You mentioned a
This
good
can
point there because I don't remember the last like big injury we had at Barcelona. Of course, Ter Stegen, nobody cares about. Gavi was kind of on our own doing, but it all stimulated from his time with Spain mainly. Maybe Ansu Fati kind of started with us, and then his decisions more so. But it is
yeah.
quite clear that there is an agenda, and I'm at a point now. I'm kind of hoping that Spain don't have any success now, especially more specifically under De La Fuente because of his inept ability of responsibility for Barcelona players specifically. Because it's quite a common theme that Dean Huijsen says, "Oh, I'm a bit tired. Okay, go home." And you have Olmo training when he's tired. You have Pedri training when he's tired and fatigued. And the problem is we're gonna need these players when we come back because we have big games ahead. We're the one that pay his wages and everything, and
Mhm.
their injuries will end up costing Barcelona in many different ways. So it is a very, very frustrating in that regards. But wait and see what happens in Spain's game. I think they play today or tomorrow against Georgia. Um, so we'll see which Barca players play in that match. But it's concerned, of course, Almo now going to be out for 3 to 4 weeks.
Right.
He probably won't be back till after the November international break. To be honest, his form is really poor, so I'm not too
No,
gutted about that. But it's still a first team player.
and
Um,
yeah, and we don't really have a lot of like players that can play in his position. Really. I mean, we have some, but really not really. That's the problem. But here's the thing, like you mentioned, when it comes to Spain, look, I'm gonna be very honest with you, Hafed. Growing up as a Barca fan, I've always liked watching Spain because they play a lot like we do. It's beautiful football, right? I was rooting for them in the 2010 World Cup. I was happy to see them win the World Cup, right? I've always supported Spain because of the Barca players. But like you mentioned, man, I've gotten to a point now where I don't even want to see these guys win because here's the thing, right? When you keep doing the same stuff and it's working, you're never gonna change it. You feel me, right? If he's overplaying Barca fans, they're all getting injured, but it means that Spain are getting their success because these players are just getting played to death. Then maybe Spain don't need to be successful. How about that? How about that? Then maybe you can
they've reached
change
that
your
point.
way of doing things. It's disgusting. Like you mentioned, look, we're Barca fans. People can say whatever they want. Our loyalty comes to Barca first. I want my players to turn up for my club. You think De La Fuente cares if Barcelona succeeds or not? He's only worried about Spain. So guess what? As a Barca fan, I'm worried about Barca. So if the Spanish national team doesn't do well, that doesn't bother me. I'm not Spanish. I'm not Spanish. Respectfully, I was happy for Spain when they won the Euros. I was rooting for them, right? Let me Yamal. We were all happy to see him cook in that tournament. But brother, you're not gonna keep taking our player. My happiness only lasted was only limited, especially in the quarterfinals when I saw Pedri down. It's like, oh my god, once again another one of our players. How can they keep getting away with this? It's disgusting.
It's very,
Yeah.
very unfortunate. But all we can hope for that, But I do think there is a bit of. I want to ask your thoughts. Do you think there is a concern right now in regards to players' fitness because they're getting fatigued quite easily? They of course had
Mm-hmm.
the summer off. They didn't play in the Club World Cup. They're playing 7 games in a row, high intensity, but they were doing that a lot more last season. And now all of a sudden we're hearing fatigue and discomfort, muscle injuries is the main problem. When you have a muscle injury, you're going to be out for about 2 to 4 weeks. So,
Mm-hmm.
do you think there's issues behind the scenes at Barcelona in terms of training or anything like that? Because I think it's a bit of a concern that we're playing 4 or 5 games and the team is absolutely dead when we're supposed to be flick ball, supposed to be as fit as you can be and all that stuff. So it is a bit strange. But do you read anything into that?
Um, you know what's funny, Hafid? I remember last season I was talking to one of my friends who's a Bayern Munich fan, and this is what he said was one of the downsides of flick ball. It's that in the first season it's so high intense it works, but really in the second season, that's why his second season doesn't usually do well because most of the time his injured players get caught. If you look at Bayern Munich's team in the 2020-2021 season after they won the treble, guys like Alphonso Davies had injuries that season. Lewandowski had injuries that season. Gnabry had injuries that season. Kimmich also had injuries that season. They were having injuries in very key areas, right? He
Mm-hmm.
said that a lot of times, second season, the players usually did break down. And he was telling me this last season. He was like, Omar, if you guys play the same team next season and you guys don't get a lot of new players, I can see some of your players getting injured next season. I didn't expect it to be this early. Like having all these injuries, we've only been 2 months into the season. It's quite worrying. Quite worrying. At the end of the day, I'm sitting there watching these games, right? Like, look at the injuries we got. Our best keeper is out, right? We've lost our best striker at some point, Lewandowski, in the start of the season. Yamal, our best player, is out. Raphinha, our second best player, arguably, right? Injured, right? Gavi, we saw how he came into the preseason. He was cooking. He looked like this season was going to be the season where he was going to return back to his best. And then just like that, he's out, right? Fermin, out. Eric Garcia now, out. Alejandro Balde just returned from an injury. We're having injuries every single game. This is bad news. And this is something, Madrid fans have been telling me, yo, Omar, welcome to our world. This is what we had to deal with last season. Injury after injury after injury. Our defense especially. Losing Rudiger, losing Militao at some point, losing Alaba, losing all those guys. You guys are starting to understand how we feel. We're having injuries, and it's not easy to deal with these injuries all the time. It is very worrying. And look, I don't want to completely blame it on the manager, right? But also, I have to say this, Hafid. This is a little bit on the club. And I get it. The club's funds are limited. The club cannot go out and spend money and get the players. So I'm sure they could, they would. You understand what I mean, right? We get that. See, I'm someone that reads in you, so I know, right? But here's the thing. You can spend smartly. Matteo Almani just joined Atletico Madrid as a sporting director. That pisses me off. It really, really pisses me off. Because I really didn't want, because Almani was one of those guys who he dealt with what he was given. Let's be clear here. Yes, he spent a lot of money, but look at the way he spent his money. I'm sorry. The one thing that Deco has never been able to, not been good at, is his business deals. You understand what I mean, right? We sat there as fans and we watched, right? Armani bring so many good players, not just as permanents, right? Even loans. He was even working in his loans, getting the right loans. Guys like Joao Cancelo, guys like Joao Felix, right? He was getting multiple positions, not just on permanent signings, but on loans as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if Almani was the sporting director, he would have been able to bring cover in certain areas. He would have been able to get us a right back, maybe 2 fullbacks. Even if it's not going to be permanent, but even loans with an option to buy, something like that. You understand what I mean, right? He might have been still able to bring Rashford, or maybe he might have even looked at a cheaper option in like a Lookman. You understand what I mean, right? Maybe something like that, right? But he would have been very, very smart to make sure we get at least 2, 3, 4 players or 5 players, right? Maybe not all on permanent deals, but even on loans. And he would figure a way to register them all. We saw him do it in his first season in 2022. We bought Kounde, Raphinha, Lewandowski, Bellerin, Alonso, right? So many players came that season, right? And we're still able to register them. Some of them were free transfer. I not mentioned Van Kessier, right? But this is the issue, Hafed. We've only signed Rashford, Jean Garcia, right? Who else? Who else did we sign? I'm tripping. Ronnie Bashi.
Rashford. Those are the 3 only.
Rashford.
Rooney, Rashford, and Joan Garcia.
That's not good enough. So that's 3 players we just signed, Hafed, right? And the same squad we had from last season that was already short. And just only added 3 players into it. Well, that's what happens. We're going to have to play the same players and overplay them again. So you run the risk of having injuries. And here we are, unfortunately.
It is a bit frustrating. Even with Mateo Lemon, like you mentioned, I'm not too fussed about it because at the time, of course, we had different stipulations, different feelings at that time. But it is frustrating. But I do think we can overcome this. I do think that the week ahead is going to be very, very important and will dictate mood and confidence going into the new year. I think the period from now to the new year is important. Also, that first 2 months of the new year, especially with the Spanish Super Cup, the Super Cup really brings a lot of motivation and confidence to players because they kind of have that winning feeling middle of the season. What are your thoughts on the three games? Of course, Girona, Olympiacos. We can save Real Madrid to the end, but those first two home matches, both are going to be taking place at the Montjuic as well.
Mhm.
How do you see Barcelona entering this game? Of course, Girona quite poor. Olympiacos, it is a big Champions League game. We just come off the back of a loss in the Champions League and need results. Are you confident going to this match? Are the injuries concerning you? How do you feel?
Yeah, injuries definitely concern me, especially now that we've heard that it's confirmed that Fermin and Raphinha will not be available for the Girona game. So no Fermin, no Raphinha, no Yamal, obviously. Now no Omo, right? We are so short in that game. But the thing is, like you mentioned, Girona are they are getting relegated. Do they have been one of the worst teams in the league?
Mhm.
Even with all of that, if we can beat this Girona team, then we need to. Then that's definitely it turns to sound the alarm bells. I'm sorry, it doesn't matter without injuries because that team is there for the beating. Everybody has taken turns beating this team. You understand what I mean? I think that you know we saw Rashford was down during the game against Sevilla. I'm hoping that Tuchel doesn't really play him, right? Give him a rest, right? You're only playing friendlies right now, right? So it doesn't really matter. You don't have any competitive games.
Mhm.
Just take your time. You don't even have to call him up. You understand what I mean, right? You've got too many quality players in the England national team to really need Rashford now, right? But this is where we are now, isn't it, Hafet?
Yeah.
We are here. We're in a position now where we need Rashford to stay because we don't have anyone else to cover these guys. We're gonna. I honestly have felt, in situations like this where, as a manager, you need to start now taking risk. You need to, because now you've lost Danny Omo and for me. So now give Pedro Fernandez an opportunity. Start him. Start him in the game against Girona. See, this is how sometimes stars are born, Hafid. How do you think we discovered Lamine Yamal? What did we hear about? Like, let's be honest, Hafid. We did not hear about Lamine Yamal. Nobody was talking about Lamine Yamal in the academy. I didn't hear. I mean, I don't know about you, but me, I didn't hear about Lamine Yamal in the academy. I never heard there was a kid named Lamine Yamal and he could be making his debut very, very soon. We just one day were just watching a match today, and we read the lineup, looked at the bench, and we saw a 16-year-old in the bench. Like, wait, who's the 16-year-old? You feel me, right?
Mhm.
But why did we give that 16-year-old an opportunity? Because we had injuries that season. People forget. Ferran Torres was out. He was out. We were short in attack. That's why we brought Lamine Yamal. And look at what happened. The moment that brother made his debut, we knew we had a star in our hands. We were like, no, 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 no. This is crazy. Who is this kid? 16-year-old player doing that. But it's always been the same. Even players like Gavi, right? They got given opportunities because we were short in the team. Now here we are again, Hefe. We're short in the team. Give Pedro Fernandez an opportunity. Give players like what's his name? What's his name? Tony Fernandez. This is a kid I've been hearing about for a long time, Hafid.
Mhm.
Last season I heard about this kid. Give him an opportunity. You see the way Ferran is playing, Lewandowski is playing. We don't know how good this kid is. This kid could just come in and start outshining these two. And if that happens as Barca fans, we know. We love when we see our product, La Masia product players come in and they just show out. You understand what I mean, right? So in a time like this where you're having an injury crisis, give opportunities to the younger players. You understand what I mean, right? Because you never know. You could strike gold. If Pedro Fernandez in this next few weeks plays well enough to actually give us a conversation. As Barca fans, we have already shown we are not afraid to give opportunities to young players if they start cooking, especially if they're doing play better than the current starting players. We're
Mhm.
gonna be like, no, 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 no. Yo, Pedro Fernandez needs to continue playing. I'm not saying he should start every week, but he has to play. He has to play. He's got the hot hand right now, right? Tony Fernandez. If Tony Fernandez comes in as a striker and is doing a better job than Ferran Torres and Lewandowski, bro, Lewandowski, brother, you were already on your last season, so you need to start holding more bench. Tony Fernandez and Ferran Torres, bro. Listen, man. Clearly, you're never gonna leave the 11, but you're a permanent bench player, bro. Tony Fernandez is ahead of you because he's the future. He's the future. But that's what I think. I think that honestly, so Yeah, we should win against Girona. Olympiacos at home, we should win because we are the home team.
Hmm.
We should win. But I am worried, Hafed, that our injuries could end up costing us that game. It could cost us because it's the Champions League. It's the Champions League, Hafed, right?
Hmm.
Olympiacos might not be known, they don't have players that are known, but we've seen in the Champions League, especially in this current group stage format, that upsets usually happen, especially in the group stages. We saw last season Real Madrid lost 3-1 to at AC Milan.
Hmm.
So we know even a draw is not good news for Barcelona. But I'm still choosing to believe. I don't think we're going to dominate Olympiacos, but we could win that game too. But at that point, we need to have our players returning, have it,
Hmm.
because that is where the only two games where I can say, okay, injuries, okay, maybe not play our injured players. But really, after that, have it, we need to start seeing some returns. Raphinha needs to return. Ferran needs to return. I'm not saying rush them. I'm saying rush them, but they need to return because if we don't have these guys physically fit by Classical, yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's really weird because the rumors keep changing about Rafa and Fermin. One minute they're fit to play against Girona, they'll be on the bench. Next minute they're gonna miss the game. It's very very confusing. There's like this plan that got leaked about Lamine Yamal's recovery plan. Like, oh, 10 minutes against Girona, half an hour against Olympiacos, and start against Real Madrid. We just need our best team out there for Madrid. I think a few rotations can do a job against Girona. A few rotations can get the job done against Olympiacos as well. Because these are the kind of games where you do want to rotate a little bit and not having to play your Gala
Hmm.
11, your best team. Girona, of course, is a derby. Whether there's meaning towards it or not, it is still a derby nonetheless. They've gotten the better of us in the last few fixtures. Of course, we beat them twice last season, but then the season before that they beat us twice. So 2-2 over the past four
Yeah, I
seasons.
know. I
Um,
know.
they have done quite poorly this season. They've kind of done okay in the last few games before the international break. And then Olympiacos Champions League. I mean, I expect and I think we will win both. It just comes down to how. Will it be tight games? Will our performance be poor, but we get over the line? What's gonna happen in those scenarios? I don't know. But I am fairly optimistic and dare I say confident that we will win those games. And hopefully
Mhm.
Flick does, try out players like you mentioned, Tony Fernandez, maybe even Guinea Fernandez or Dro Fernandez. Give opportunity to these players instead of trying to makeshift the team, change it around, put Rashford up front and then Fran in the cam just so you don't play Tony Fernandez or someone like that or Dro. I do want to see those players come in their best positions if the two first team players in that position are unavailable. That's kind of my thought process. But
Mhm.
of course, the next weekend is Clasico. We're far away from it now, but I do want to get a bit of your early perspective on the game. Are you worried? You think it'll be tight? I do presume that Fermin, Rafa, and Lamine will be fit for the game. Lewandowski, Pedri, and Ferran, and the only one that will probably miss the game is Juan Garcia and Dani Olmo,
Yeah.
alongside, of
Mhm.
course, Gavi Ter Stegen, who will be out till the new year. But what are your early thoughts on that game?
Well, look, one thing I've learned from a long time I've watched football is when it comes to Classico, phone goes out the window. Barca
Mhm,
can come in not in the best of form, maybe not performance wise, and you still leave and somehow dominate. We did it last season. You remember, we won that first Classico, but really, if you look at the run before we played Real Madrid, we were winning, but we were not convincing. We only had a convincing win when we played Bayern in the Champions League that same week. When we battered Bayern in the Champions League, that gave the players the confidence to be like, "Cool. It's a great way to finally beat one of the teams that are always our bogey teams in Europe, and now we can go to the Classico with some confidence."
mhm.
And listen, I will never go to a Classico ever not being confident. Never. Because
Never,
I've seen
ever,
my.
ever?
No, I'm not saying I don't. I've never gone to a game, El Clasico game, not confident. Basically, my point is, I always believe in my team when it comes to Clasico. I've seen us come into Classicos really not in the best of forms and still going to win. I've also seen us come into the Clasico in the great form and still somehow lose. So there is no form. Form goes out the window. But here's the thing also, Hafid. Real Madrid have their own problems to deal with. Because just like us, they now have injury problems. Kylian Mbappe got injured yesterday against Azerbaijan. People saying Kylian is fine, but yo, there's a reason he went off. And this is the thing, they were already complaining about Kylian Mbappe before the game. They were complaining about Mbappe before the game because people were saying, yo, this guy, he's having muscle issues and all this stuff. And he actually gets taken off. That's not good news. I can see Real Madrid potentially not playing him in a lot of games in the next few games, right? Maybe benching him in the next La Liga game. Maybe starting him for a few minutes against Juventus in the Champions League so that he can be ready for the Clasico, right? But as far as for me is concerned, Hafid, look, I still think that we can go out there and win because here's the thing, Hafid. One thing we need to accept, and this is the one thing that Madrid fans will always run away from. But the fact of the matter is this, Hafid. Real Madrid haven't really been tested. They haven't passed the big game test yet. They have not passed the big game test, especially under Alonso. They can talk about all they want about the games that they've won. I've seen you get tested twice, only twice under this manager. That was PSG and that was Atletico. You considered 5 to Atletico Madrid, Hafid. 5 goals against Diego Simeone. Does Diego Simeone's teams ever score 5? But they scored 5 against this club. Real Madrid. That is probably one of the heaviest Madrid derby defeats in their whole history. Last time I saw them get battered in this tournament was, funny enough, about 10 years ago when they lost 4-0 at the Calderon against Real Madrid. Remember, that season, it was like the week of Ronaldo's birthday, and they got battered at the Calderon 4-0. But to lose to this Atletico Madrid team, who have not even had a great start to their season, they have not had a great start. This would have been the perfect time to play them, to actually beat them. But you got battered. And you got battered by PSG. So this is the thing, Hafe. They have not passed the big game test yet. They have not passed the big game test. And do not get it twisted. They're looking at that game against Sevilla and saying, this is why we're going to win this year. Bro, I saw you get battered by Atletico Madrid. You think I'm afraid of you? I've seen your defense split like the Red Sea. I saw Julian Alvarez absolutely cook your defense. Alexander Sola was having the game of his life. Where was Dean Huijsen? Is he even going to be fit by the time the Clasico? Because I know he's injured too. Franco is also injured. So they have injuries as well. So this is the thing happened. Their defense is leaky. And one thing about Barcelona is our attack is one of the areas in our team where we can actually say, hey, I can worry about my defense, but my attack, no worries. Especially if my players return. If Raphinha returns, if Fermin returns, those players that you're talking about, like Fermin, they have firepower. They can score goals in the midfield, right? Lewandowski, because we can say whatever we want about Lewandowski. Yes, he didn't have a good game again in the last game. But Lewandowski is Lewandowski. Give him an inch and he will make you suffer. He proved it last season in the Clasico. They gave him 2 opportunities in the box and I dare you to give those opportunities to Lewandowski again in this time and see if he will not make you suffer.
Mm-hmm.
Lamine Yamal. Bro, let me tell you something. It doesn't matter, Hafid. I still think that the Clasico this season, we can win it. I believe 100% we can. Because at the end of the day, Madrid haven't shown me anything for me to say, okay, that game against them is going to be tough. I've seen you get the big game test and you failed twice. Got battered. Not even lose. Because one thing to lose. You can lose games. We lost to PSG. We didn't get battered by PSG. We got battered by Sevilla. We didn't, but we lost. You don't lose big games. You get battered. And that's the difference between us. If you're getting battered, bro, that's not good news for you. It means that your defense is leaky up here. So yes, am I confident? Absolutely. Because I still think that I've seen us win when we're not playing well. And also, I've seen Real Madrid in the big game test, and they have not convinced me.
Mm-hmm. I can definitely concur with that. I think the first point that you mentioned is, form going out the window. So in a game like this, you really don't know. Um, I've seen us at our best beat Madrid. I've seen us at our worst beat Madrid. I've seen us at our best be beaten by Madrid. I've seen us at our worst be beaten by Madrid.
Yep.
I do think, band for band, both teams play at their best. We do win. I think quite comfortably as well.
Yes,
But
we do.
I think the main thing that dictates Clásicos is morale, it's confidence, and it's a
Mhm.
bit of form. Even though form goes out the window, how you've done during the season, I don't think recent form matters, but how you've done, how you felt throughout the whole season does have an impact. 'Cause I think confidence played a big role in our 4 wins against Real Madrid last season, especially in that last Clásico. You can tell that everyone knew that we were the better team and thought we were the better team and stuff like that. That's why we kind of went out there and won. But
Mhm.
I wouldn't say I'm confident, but I do believe we can go out there and get a result. I think it'll come down a lot to player fitness, how Madrid entered the game, as well, and I think that it's a big test for this team as well. I think the 2 games beforehand, and for our perspective, for our form, will definitely have indications. Like if we don't win both Olympiacos and Girona, serious questions going to be asked, and media is
No,
going to
yeah,
start
yeah, yeah.
going crazy. That will have impact on the game, but I do think that we do have the capabilities, the ability, and should be able to win that game at the Bernabeu as well. A bit of our training ground. We've gotten some good results there over the past few seasons. Um, I guess my next question for you would be: do
Mhm.
you think things will turn around? And if you do think so, what do you think will be the turning point? Talks behind the scenes, tactical adjustments on the pitch. What do
Mhm.
you think?
Funnily, I've already made a video about this. Probably gonna come out later on this week. Yes, I do believe that there's still a chance for a turnaround. Look, I am not. I don't think as Barca fans, it's time for us to press the panic button yet. Come on, it's not that right. This is our first loss of the season in the league, right? We won beaten, right? It wasn't the kind of loss that we wanted, but then again, last season, like I mentioned, our first loss was a heavy defeat as well to Osasuna. So we've seen this last season. There's no need to completely press the panic button just yet, right? Obviously, you can be critical, right? And as fans, we always like to look at not just the defeat, but we also want to look at the performance and look at what went wrong. And there's multiple factors. I think that the players are not good enough, Hafid. I think we've known that for a while as fans, right? We know some of these players, if really we want so financial have such a financial constraint, a lot of these players would not be here. We would have gotten rid of a lot of these guys and brought some new players. But these are the players we have, right? So I think when it comes to Flick, honestly, for me, I'm not saying change your system because I think your system works. Your system has worked. We won the domestic treble last season, so your system works. When it works, it's beautiful to watch. We score plenty amounts of goals. The attacking football is beautiful. Goals from everywhere, right? Defensively is where the issue is. I think that when you look at this team, when you look at your defense, you should realize what kind of defenders you have. You don't have any world class defenders. We don't. Let's be clear here. We don't have world class defenders. When we know that, we have good defenders that are capable, of course, but we don't have any world class players. And not to mention, I don't think this defense has any leaders. We don't. I'm sorry. Araujo is not a leader. He's not a leader, bro. The way he performed against Sevilla, right, and his mannerisms, it's not good enough. You understand what I mean? You're not a leader. So for me, I think he just needs to tweak it. Just tweak it, right? Just okay, okay. I'm not gonna. We'll play the high line, but we're gonna start the line here, a little bit deeper, near the box. You understand what I mean, right? That way, at the end of the day, we will not be cut off. We will run the risk of not always being leaving the team on side, right? I honestly think Hafed, and this is what I pray for. Even with all these injuries, I hope that the next 2 games, Girona Olympiacos, we get statement wins. Because if we can win and we can win convincingly, and I mean like a 3-4, let's say we beat Girona 4-0, and even guys like Tony Fernandez and Gilberto Fernandez playing that game, and one of them gets a goal. The confident boost that will bring to not just the player, but to the whole squad to know, these young players are actually pulling their weight. These guys are actually coming in and doing the job. It's going to give confidence to the fans, it's going to give confidence to the manager and to the players to give these guys more opportunities. And if we can play in the Champions League, and win like a 3 or 4-0 with all these injury problems we have right now, Hafet, with all these injuries we have right now, if we can win and win dominantly, by the time players like Fermin, Raphinha, and Yamal come back, the team would have already become confident. And you know those players would come back with confidence themselves, knowing that the team is already playing well without them. So they're gonna come in and say, "Yo, we're just gonna come in and just roll with the form." You understand what I mean, right? That's what I think we do. I think that these next 2 games before the Clasico will be very important for me to see the mindset of these players going to that Clasico, because it's important. I don't think Madrid are invincible, whatever they tell you. Madrid fans, you can see it even in the way they talk most of the time. It's a part of them, they really want it, have it. They are so desperate to beat us right now. We played them 4 times last season. We beat them 4 times last season. In one season, we beat them 4 times. They are desperate. That's why this season, every single time they see us lose, they're ecstatic. Because in their minds, they want to know that we are not invincible, that we are vulnerable, that we have weaknesses that they can exploit. Because they know they have weaknesses too. So because they know their weaknesses, they're thinking, yeah, Barcelona could really make us work with our weaknesses. But what is their weaknesses? Do they have weaknesses that we can take advantage of? And that's why in the game against Sevilla, they were having the time of their lives. Because they looked at that and said, that was the game where we were exposed. But I'm like, okay, cool. Yes, I can tell you our defense was not good even last season. Well, what was good about our team last season was we were outscoring teams. We know that, Hafid. We were conceding goals every single game last season. Well, guess what? We were just scoring 3, 4, 5 more goals than the other team were in the game. So it didn't matter. We were winning. So it is what it is. For me, the next 2 games is important. Get to win, get the performance. And when the players come back, I think that we'll go to the Bernabeu and do our job. I'm not saying we're going to batter them like we did last season. I can see this game even be more closer, to be honest. I think Real
Probably,
Madrid, I think Real Madrid will get match score in the game. I can see. Honestly, don't be surprised if we win the game like a 3-2, where their defense is just leaky. They're just giving us goals. But unfortunately, we can't stop them because, especially if Kylian Mbappe plays, I think Kylian will get a goal in this Clasico if he plays, because he's really on smoke. Let's just
he
declare
can
him on.
score as much as he wants as long as we win. He scored 5 last season, lost all 4, so I don't care. He scored hat tricks. He did this and did that. We won all of the games. That's what matters to me, is the 3 points and the victory. And we're probably going to get an El Clasico in the Super Cup final as well. So this match, I think, will definitely have, implication into that. For me personally, just to add to some of your points, like, I think that this El Clasico will be the decider for the Clásicos to come. Like we saw last season, we beat them 4-0. Everyone kind of expected that. We got wins. I think this Clásico kind of take that. If it's a draw, I can expect closer Clásicos to come. If we win, I think it'll give us confidence. If they win, it'll give them confidence. But I do think that the main thing, as Barca Volume says, is having a fully fit team and going for it. That is what we need for this Clasico, because we know bar for bar, band for band, we go out there and we do get the job done. But I still feel like that this team relies a lot on confidence. We saw last season when we had that bad month because that all came together. Then we needed a Christmas break to really regroup, and then once we're on form, we go flying. I do commemorate last season we us losing to Inter, then still going on to win El Clasico. That for me was a big eye opener and game changer.
Yeah,
But
the 5-2, right?
the
At the
4-3, 4-3.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You mean the fourth? You mean the last one?
Yeah. So I think this team can do it. It just comes down to will. But just to end off, what do you think could be that turning point to push Barcelona onto form for this, for the next few weeks before the November international break?
I mean, I think I alluded to it. I think that in this right now, in the position that we're in with all these injuries, right? This is for me the only time that Flick can say, you know what, screw it, man. Let's just try something. We don't really have much to lose at this point. We have too many injuries, right? Give opportunities to young players. The young players want to prove themselves. You understand what I mean, right? They want to prove themselves, and I want to see. I want to see even guys like Bernard given more opportunity. I know he's coming back from injury, but we saw him come out in his first game back and get a cameo and got an assist instantly, right? that gives me confidence that okay, you still have that thing about you. You feel me, right? Give him more opportunities. Look, and also here's another thing, right? I don't expect Pedro Fernandez to start every game now that Omo is out, but I can even see, like I mentioned, we talked about this in the last podcast, right? Talk about Pedri potentially being moved in the 10. We could see him maybe get moved for now. Not saying put him there permanently, but because we have Casado and Bernard who are on the bench, right? I can see Flick potentially doing that, playing Pedri much more higher, right? And playing De Jong and Casado or Bernard as like a pivot. You understand what I mean, right? But like you mentioned, it's a confidence thing. Now, one thing I will say is this, Afet. Obviously, we know in the game in the weekend, no Raphinha, no Yamal, no Ferran. So we will not have those guys in that game. In the Olympiacos game, however, I do want to see some of them get a cameo. I want to see Raphinha get a cameo, right? If Yamal is ready, give him a cameo. Not saying 30, 40 minutes, right? Give him like 10, 15 minutes, right? To just get on the ball like he did against Sociedad. You understand what I mean, right? Fermin as well. Give these guys cameos. Give them something, give them a feeling on the ball. If one of them can even get a goal in that game, you may imagine the confidence you're going to get after being injured for so long, coming back and getting a goal on your return. Now you are ready. Focus. You're like, all right, we're ready for this Classico. Right? Because at the end of the day, Real Madrid have their own problems to deal with. They need their players to come back fit. That's the problem. I see Mbappe being out in the game in the weekend. And maybe he might play in the game against Juventus. But right now, I can tell you one thing, Hafet. Real Madrid are going to have their players in tinfoil right now. Guys like Franco, guys like Dean Huijsen. Because remember, these three players I just mentioned, these three players have been really been integral under this Alonso system, Hafet. These three players I'm mentioning specifically. Kylian Mbappe is the best, is their best player. Bro, if they lose Kylian Mbappe for a month, they are screwed with a capital S. Because let's be honest, their attack is whack. Let's be honest here. One thing I can say about my attack is I'm getting goals everywhere. Your players choose when they want to be in form. Mm-hmm. Vinicius will choose one day, okay, I'm going to look like the second coming of Neymar. And next minute he's looking like man like Cleberson. You understand what I mean, right? He's not reliable. Rodrigo doesn't seem like the manager really trusts him. Franco is still young. Ada Guler, you understand what I mean, right? Mm-hmm. Kylian Mbappe is the only guy that they always rely upon to always get end goals. So if he gets injured, they're screwed. Even if it's out for like 2 or 3 weeks, that's not good news for them. That is not good news for them. So for me, I think that at the end of the day, the ball is still in our court because Real Madrid are special. And we, honestly, what I want to see, like you mentioned, performance. Keyword, halfway. I don't just want to see the win. Give me a performance with the win. Because performance is what usually gives me confidence to go to games. Because I'm like, okay, we're not just winning, but we're winning with style. So Olympiacos, Girona, give me the performance plus the win. So that I can go to the Classico and say, okay, cool. Doesn't matter, bro. We swept you last season. I am not worried, bro. I am not worried. Your defense looks leakier than last season, bro. It is what it is. Bring it on.
Hopefully, that is the game plan, so to speak. We've covered anything. Is there anything else that you think we should be covering that we haven't discussed yet? I think we covered basically everything.
I mean, we can talk about the Villarreal Barca game being played in Miami.
That is true. Yes, we can. I feel like that's such old news because we talked about that for so long, but now that's of course been confirmed now.
Outraged.
What I'll give you my thoughts quickly, and you can tell me yours. I mean, yeah, I don't like the fact that it's being played in a different, country. I think that it kind of defeats the purpose of a Spanish league. I get it; they want to do it for money. That's why Barcelona said yes. We get an extra $6 million. We avoid a difficult away ground. So I'm not too bothered by it in that respect, but I definitely don't want it to be a regular occurrence. I definitely don't want it to be like a couple of times a season. I don't like it. I feel like if you want to come see a La Liga game, you have to come to Spain and watch it. But I kind of hate the fact that Madrid fans are saying that, oh, we're trying to, scam the league and scam everyone, where it was Villarreal who were mainly pushing for this. They were the ones that wanted this the president came out saying that, oh, our record in the past 20 years to Barcelona at home has all been like losses and like one win, so we're not benefiting
He acknowledged
from
it.
anything. They will get a bit more money since they're supposed to be having the home game. So again, I don't like it. I'm not in favor for it, but they're doing it. It's whatever. Hopefully, it won't become a recurrence because that's what the UEFA president said, that they're gonna try to patch the loophole so it won't happen again. But what are your thoughts?
I mean, just like you, I'm not a fan of this. I already made a video on my channel. I don't like this. We need to respect league football. One thing I can say, even as an American, is you know what the problem with us Americans is? We always like to just, when we put our hands into something, we just like to Americanize everything. Why do we always want to ruin stuff just to amuse ourselves? Bro, there's Super Cups. Those are no problem. Super Cups are usually played in neutral grounds. Play it in the US. You think the UEFA the Spanish Super Cup is not going to generate buzz, especially considering you have Real Madrid, Atletico, and Barca in the US. You're going to still generate the same amount of money you would generate if you played a La Liga game between Villarreal and Barca. In fact, you would actually generate more because you know Madrid will play and Barca would play. You could potentially get a Clasico in the semifinals or in the final. Everybody would still come in. But this is the issue here. These guys, they like to do this thing in America where we're always like, we want to be the first ones to do this. Groundbreaking. It's never been done before. League game in the United States. No, absolutely not. We need to respect the league format. There's home games and there's away games. Home games are played in the home team's field. The away game is played in the other team's city. That is how it's always been. That's how it's always going to be. Guess what? Even in NFL, they have the home games and the road games. Guess what? Where's the road games being played? It's being played in the other team stadium. You understand what I mean, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't see an NFL game that's supposed to be played in, I don't know, the Kansas City Chiefs, right? They have a home game and they're playing it in Mexico and in Canada. No, it's being played in Kansas. Like, respectfully, you guys don't even do this in your sport, and you're trying to do it to another sport. Look, Madrid fans can cry about all they want. We all know they can cry and say, "Oh, this is all Barcelona." Well, you guys, the difference between me and you is, I am not happy because of what this does to the league format. You're only worried about how this affects your team. We are not the same. You understand what I mean, right? You don't care. You think if Real Madrid were in our position, Real Madrid would care? Absolutely not. They're only worried about themselves. So that's why their crying doesn't bother me, bro. Because you're not crying for the sake of other teams. You're trying to make it seem like you're worried about the league. You don't care, bro. You don't care. I'm not saying all of them, by the way. I think some of them they do, right? Some of them they would keep the same energy if there was their club, fine, right? But for most of these guys, they're just looking at this as it's the league, right? They're giving Barcelona the league. It's a conspiracy. Like I've said it, Real Madrid are conspiracy FC. They enjoy conspiracy. They're like David Icke FC. You understand what I mean, right? They sit there and they talk about, oh, Barcelona and Real Madrid, Real Barcelona, La Liga, Barcelona referees, Barcelona. They're paranoid, bro. Fine. You guys live like this, right? You always think every single time your team loses, it's always something to do with conspiracy. You guys can't lose games. You guys can lose trophies. It's not like Real Madrid cannot lose trophies. No, it always has to be some reason. So it is what it is. As far as I'm concerned, I hate this. And here's the problem, Hafid. If they don't close the loopholes, this is not going to be the last time we're going to see this. Because I'll tell you this right now, Hafid. If this game against Villarreal becomes successful, they generate a lot of money. UEFA need to step in, and they need to step in quick. Because if it generates views, stadium is packed, so many people coming in, and it works, you have screwed up. Because if they do it to La Liga, they're going to go to the Premier League next. Because let's be clear here, half of the Premier League clubs are owned by American owners. Okay? Do not ever think that the Premier League is exempt. Yeah, the Premier League fans can cry about it. Who cares? You think your American owners care about your opinions? These guys care about the dollar. Serie A. We'll see Serie A games, bro. Serie A, Italian league is broke, bro. They will take any money they have, bro. Let's be real,
Hmm.
okay? But we are gonna see more of this. This is not a good. This is why I hate this, Hafed. You have opened the door to something even worse. Because if one league is doing it, all the other leagues are gonna do it. And from then on, guess what, Hafed? Home and away games will mean nothing now.
Yeah.
Because yeah, so I'm not a fan of this. I hate it.
I don't think it'll be a long term thing. They'll do it once and then see. I think the only way it becomes a big thing is that they do like some sort of deal with UEFA and like split like the money with them. It's all a money game, obviously. But we will see how things turn out. But I guess we'll end it there. Hope you guys all
Yeah,
enjoyed episode 4 of the Blaugrana Podcast. We'll be back at some point next week on Omar BYT's channel. Of course, his link is in the top of the description, so tune in for that. With the scheduling, it's just going to be at some point next week. So whenever it is, make sure you tune in,
yeah,
drop a
guys.
subscribe, leave a like as well, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. And we'll catch you on the next one. As always, Visca Barça.